Hello, and welcome to the When Harry Met Onnie podcast, episode number 14. My name is Emily. I live in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and if you're here, you're probably looking for my knitting and crocheting podcast. I'm an attorney by day, and I live with my husband and my two cats named Harry and Onyx, hence the name of the podcast is When Harry Met Onnie, which is a pun on When Harry Met Sally. If you are new to the podcast, thanks so much for checking out the podcast. And if you are a return viewer, thanks so much for coming back. If you like my video, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel. That way you will be updated whenever I post a new video and it'll appear in your queue, even if you don't get the alerts. If you would like to connect with me on social media, you can find me on Instagram as @WhenHarryMetOnnie and on Ravelry as mmeister. And I think that's all of the administrative intro stuff that I have. So this week I have a few things to share. I have 4 works in progress, unfortunately no finished objects. And then for my primetime segment, I'm going to share some of the things that I bought at Maryland Sheep and Wool, which was held last month on May 4th and 5th. The last episode I recorded was at the beginning of May, and it is now Monday, June 3rd. So thank you so much for coming back, even though I've had a little bit of time away, but I have some progress to share on projects, including a new start. So without further ado, I think we're just gonna jump into works in progress. If you follow me on Instagram, this first work in progress will not be a surprise because I've been posting pictures of my progress pretty frequently on Instagram. Like many people, I have been struck with Soldotna fever, so I am knitting a Soldotna crop by Caitlin Hunter, more commonly found across the internet and on Instagram as Boyland Knitworks. So actually I just realized I don't have the cover of the pattern, but here is the crop, and this is a very popular pattern. So if you search Soldotna crop, the hashtag on Instagram, you'll see tons of variations and projects of the Soldotna, and I think there's like thousands of project pages on Ravelry, so check it out. So I've made my own version, and here is my progress so far. So this is all yarn by Hoard Yarn. The copper color, which is color 1, is Acorn. Color 2 is Evergreen. And color 3, this kind of beigey color, is Heirloom. Actually, I'm sorry, color 3 is the gray, and I don't know what color that is. I don't have the ball band either. And color 4, which is the beige color, is Heirloom. The Acorn, Evergreen, and the gray color are all on her Magic DK base, and then the Heirloom, the beige color, is on her worsted base. So I had the copper color and the gray color in stash. I bought those two from Hoard Yarn when she was doing a mystery skein package. So you could order a mystery package and you would get 3 skeins of DK in your package. And so the Acorn and the silver were 2 of the colors in the package. And then the other 2 colors I actually picked up on my way to Maryland Sheep and Wool. I met Tristan from Hoard Yarn at the Knot House pop-up shop in Frederick, Maryland, and she helped me find my Soldotna colors. I told her that I had the Acorn and the gray color, and she helped me pick out this Evergreen and then the Heirloom to have as my color 2 and color 4. So yeah, this has been really fun to knit. I was a little concerned because you knit it top down, and once you finish the yoke, you separate for the sleeves. And once I separated for the sleeves, I don't know, it just looked really small. It has since gotten wider since I've been knitting the body, but I am a little concerned that it is not going to fit like I want it to. I'm knitting the medium. I'm using the called for needle size, a size US 5, but I did not do gauge swatch, which was definitely something I should have done in hindsight. Also, the only other sweater I've knitted is also by Caitlin Hunter. It's the Umpqua. And for that sweater, I actually ended up knitting like the size large or extra large when I'm usually a medium based on the bust size measurements and the arm circumference and the hip measurements. So I chose to knit the medium based on that for this crop top. But I think maybe I should have gone up a size or maybe knitted the colorwork portion in a US size 6. But I'm going to keep going and we'll see how it turns out. I'm hoping that after a good block, it will loosen up. My colorwork, I still am working on colorwork tension. So it could use some loosening after a wash. Also, the body, I have actually finished the body with these flea stitches, the number of rows that the pattern calls for. So at this point, I'm just adding to the length that I want to have, and I don't really want it traditionally cropped. I would like it a little bit longer, and perhaps it's still to be a crop sweater, but some of the ones that I've seen that have followed the pattern to a T have come out like right below the bust, and that just would not look flattering on me. So I am continuing to knit. I have the yarn to do it. I have over a skein left of the Evergreen, and I think I might also do a little bit of a longer sleeve and incorporate some of this body chart into the sleeve before working the ribbing for the sleeves. So that is my Soldotna crop. I will show you the yarn caked up so that you can see it. So here is the Acorn, color 1. This is Evergreen. I haven't started in on this skein yet. That's color 2. This gray, I don't know what the name is. Tristan thought it might have been Teacup, but I don't think it was Teacup. I think I would have remembered if it were Teacup, and she didn't say a name that I recognize, so I'm not exactly sure what this gray color is. And then here is the Heirloom. This was part of her Outlander collection, and it's on her Storyteller Worsted weight. The Magic DK is 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon, 246 yards per skein, and the Heirloom is 100% superwash merino, 217 yards. It is in my go-to sweater knitting bag, which is just this simple tote from Shuttles, Spindles, and Skeins in Boulder, Colorado. The only other thing I wanted to mention was yarn management, and it's something that I kind of developed a better system of working on as I was knitting the body, but here are my floats. And as you can see, there's a whole garbled mess of ends on the back here. So if I had thought about this a little more carefully, I would have carried all of the yarn from row to row until reaching the body, when I would have cut off the color 1, the Acorn, because that's the only color that's not used in the body. And there aren't a whole lot of rows in between the other rows, and I could have definitely carried each strand of yarn. So now I have this unruly mess that I'm really quite disappointed with, and it's just not going to be fun to have to weave in. But as you can see, for the body, I started carrying the yarn from row to row because you go for a while without using color 3 or color 4. I had a little bit better of a system of carrying the yarn up the work as I finally came to the body. So a little too late, but you know, you live and you learn, and this is the first top-down sweater I've knitted, the first all over color work garment I've knitted. So you know, for next time, and until then I will be weaving in ends, sadly, before I am 100% finished with this. I was working on it and using the hashtag for the Crop It Cowl, which was hosted by Asylum Fibers and a user, I don't remember her actual name, but it's Petite U Sign. So I did not finish it in the month of May. I got pretty darn close, but I'll still be working on this throughout June and hope to finish it within the next couple of weeks. So that is the Soldotna crop. I think I can pretty much zoom through the next 3 works in progress because they are works in progress that I've shown over past episodes. The next one is the Vignette Cowl by Suvi Simola. I will show you a picture. Here is the Vignette Cowl. This is a 2 skein DK cowl project. It is living in my bag that is from BagLadyKathleen, I think. Yes, BagLadyKathleen. This is the bag that I won from the Drunk Knitter giveaway, and it has these really cool pom-poms as at the end of the drawstring. So living in this bag is the Vignette Cowl. I added a progress keeper from the last time. So that was my progress last time, and I've put just a few more rows on here. I've added about a repeat and a half. I have about 5 to 6 more repeats. I did start the second skein of DK yarn. The yarn I am using is the Fibre Company Acadia. It is silk noil, baby alpaca, and merino wool. It's in the color sand. Here it is. And I started the second skein a little bit over halfway through the project. I was a little concerned because the pattern calls for, I think, 290 yards, and I only bought 290 yards of worth of yarn, which was 2 skeins of that yarn. As a reminder, this is the project that I am working on with my mom. We're doing our own casual knit along. So she is knitting one as well, and we're working on cabling. So she's also made some progress. I think she's on her second repeat. So no rush, as it's summer now and we're probably not going to be wanting to wear cowls for some months, but it's fun. It's a fun patterned, or it's a fun project to pick up, and you really get a hang of the pattern after one repeat, because the way it's written, you can kind of see what you need to do next once you get a hang of the 4-row repeat and understand how it's constructed. Yeah, so I'm loving these cables. This yarn is so soft and squishy, and that is the Vignette Cowl. My next work in progress is one that hasn't made an appearance on the podcast in quite some time, but I'm trying to whittle down the number of whips I have. At my last count, when I made a list of active whips, and granted, I think I'm forgetting some neglected crochet projects are the ones that I probably did not count, but I have about 14 or 15 works in progress. So my goal is to not start anything until I finish 2 of my works in progress. So hopefully that'll curb the cast-on-itis and also just help me get through projects and actually finish things, because I have a bad habit of starting things and then not finishing them. So this is the Little Coffee Bean Cardigan by Elizabeth Smith. So I put a stitch marker where I last was when I last showed this on the podcast. So since then I have finished the body. I have added the bottom ribbing in yellow, and then I've started the sleeve. So I'm gonna knit the long sleeve version. So the long sleeves, I need to knit probably another 2.5 inches here. I'm working on double points, a series of 4 double pointed needles for that. I have to address this armhole here. But the yarn is just some 100% cotton Lily Sugar and Cream. Here is the main color I'm using. I think this is Summer Print. And then the yellow, I don't know what that's called. Yellow. Go figure. So we actually now know of two couples who are expecting, one at the end of October and the other at the beginning of November. So I'm hoping that this little cardigan will go to one of them. I have plenty of time. Got to pick some cool buttons. I'm thinking like maybe some like novelty buttons for this. And I'm knitting the 1 year size. So I think this will be great because, like I said, it's 100% cotton. It's really light, and you can just chuck it in the wash. You don't have to worry about hand washing, and I don't think anyone who has a newborn baby or even a 1 or 2 year old really wants to worry about having to hand wash things that their child wears. So yeah, that is the little coffee bean cardigan by Elizabeth Smith. I'm going to show you what the pattern picture is. This is a very popular pattern on Ravelry for a top-down seamless baby cardigan. And it is living in my Lego tote bag that we got at the Mall of America in Minnesota. That is the little coffee bean cardigan. Last but not least for works in progress is my Vaffel tee by Kari-Helene Rain. It is living in my project bag by Tanny Casey. It has this wonderful Alice in Wonderland print, a great removable handle, and it's a large zippered bag. And last podcast I was going to tell the story about buying this bag, but then I forgot to in the Allentown Fibre Festival segment where I recapped my haul. So the story behind this isn't much of a story, but Tanny Casey was vending at the Allentown Fibre Festival, and I went up to her and I told her that I loved her bags and I was wondering if she had any of this Alice in Wonderland print. She said, "No, I don't have any of the bags in that print with me, but I'm planning to bring them back to the shop soon." So she gave me a business card and said, "You know, I don't usually do this, but here's the email address on my business card. Send me an email and let me know that you're somebody who wanted a large bag in the Alice in Wonderland print." So she ended up making several available within a week or two after the Allentown Fibre Festival. So I was able to snag one, which I was really happy about. So it's a beautiful bag. Caroline from Dunder Knit has been raving about these bags, and for good reason. I mean, they're just incredibly well-made bags. So living in this project bag is my Vaffel tee. Here's a picture of the finished product, and this was a test knit I was doing, and unfortunately I never finished the test knit in time, but I'm still planning to work on it and then provide photographs to Kari. And I have put like 15 more rows on this. So it is a bottom up t-shirt, and it has this beautiful waffle design on the bust and yoke. I don't know if it's called a yoke if it's not a raglan. Will someone know that? I don't know. Let me know. So yeah, it's kind of hard to see because the needles are a little bit too small, but I can't really go up a needle size. I think the next needle size would be a 40 inch, and like what's on here is between 32 inches and 40 inches. But this is where I was last time. So I've put on about 15 rows, and I have another like 60 rows of just stockinette before I think I end up splitting for the front and the back. So yeah, a little hard to see, but I just wanted to show you my progress on this. And I also wanted to share for this project that I purposefully chose this color yarn because I had been gravitating a lot toward greens and blues, and mostly greens and blues. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna do this as a test knit, and I'm gonna order the yarn that is called for in the pattern, which by the way is John Arbonne Textiles, fingering weight in their 4-ply knit by numbers. But I bought 3 skeins of this, and it's 400 meters per skein. But I chose this color because I don't normally knit with this indigo purple, right? And I started knitting this up, and I was like, you know what? This looks really familiar, this color. And then it dawned on me that I have a shirt, this exact same color. So if this is not the exact same color, I'm not sure what is, but you know, I gravitated toward this as a color that I wanted to wear. And I mean, it's exactly the same. It must be the same Pantone color. And yeah, so I also have a visitor here. Harry is right here. So I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Well, he's gonna come sit on my lap maybe. I don't know. But anyway, so that's the story with the Vaffel tee. I'm still working on it. Sorry, my cat decided to sit on my lap. I have Harry here, and it kind of threw me off guard a little bit. But anyway, that's the Vaffel tee by Kari-Helene Rain. So that's it for the knitting this week. Next, I'm going to go over what I bought at the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, which was held May 4th and 5th in Friendship, Maryland. Before I hit up the festival, I stopped by the Knot House in Frederick, Maryland for their indie pop-up event. It was awesome. I got to meet Kathy and Heather, who have the Knot House podcast, and I was really excited because I got to meet Tristan from Dragon Hoard Yarn, and I ended up purchasing from her 2 additional colors for my Soldotna. I also, while I was there, bought a I Willy Love Knitting patch from the Farmer's Daughter Fibers. Here is the I Willy Love Knitting patch from Farmer's Daughter Fibers. It has Willie Nelson on there, and he's wearing a Tecumseh, which is so funny. But I picked this up, and I picked up 2 skeins of Dragon Hoard Yarn Evergreen and 1 skein of the Heirloom. And that's all I bought at the Knot House, but I did some damage to my wallet with 3 skeins of yarn and a patch. So I moved on to the Maryland Sheep and Wool itself. So first of all, I went on Sunday, and if you were there at all on either Saturday or Sunday, you will remember that it was pouring on Sunday. It was definitely the worst day of the 2 to go. In fact, I had planned to go with 3 other ladies from my knitting group at work. They all bailed the day before because of the weather forecast. So it was just me going, wearing my Umpqua, and like I said, I hit up the Knot House and then went to Maryland Sheep and Wool. So my first stop at Maryland Sheep and Wool was to visit one of my best friends from high school. Her mom was a featured author at the main information center tent, and she was doing a book signing of her children's book. So I picked up a copy of Daisy and the Shepherd by Betsy McPherson, And you can purchase this on Betsy's website. She is the shepherdess at Love You Farm in Virginia. And I haven't read it yet, but it seems like an excellent children's book. There's a lot of text on the page. She was telling us all about the artist that she hired to do the illustrations. So just a really high quality children's book. And I would highly recommend this if you are looking for a knitting themed or fiber themed baby gift. I think it would be great for a shower if you buy this book and knit something or crochet something. Just really, really awesome work by Betsy. What was also really cool was that her daughter, Maddie, surprised her at the festival and came with her boyfriend. So it was really nice seeing everyone there, and I hadn't seen Betsy in probably 10 years. So she knows that I'm a knitter now, and it was nice to catch up with her. So that was my first purchase. My next purchase ended up being my only yarn purchase at the festival itself. And it was in a continuing saga of the Cafe Knitting Shawl by Stephen West. So if you've watched previous episodes, you will know that I thought I found my fade for the Cafe Knitting Shawl by Stephen West. I'll put a picture here of that shawl. It's a 3-color sport weight shawl. You pretty much use an entire skein of sport weight for each of 3 colors. So I had originally picked out this skein of yarn by Dragonfly Fibers, and then I picked up a skein of Rita May yarns in Turtle Beach, also sport weight, and then I had picked up a skein of 100 Ravens, 1,000 Ravens. Ooh, it's a really popular yarn company, but I forget the name. But anyway, it was a DK weight yarn. And I was looking at it, and I thought I might be using it in a Soldotna, and I kind of fell out of love with it for the Cafe Knitting project. So I had in mind when I was at Maryland Sheep and Wool that I might want to find a 3rd color for the Cafe Knitting shawl instead of the 1,000 Ravens, I think it is, color that I had picked up. And I did just that. So I got from Utopia this color. This is in their Ridge Sport base. It is 304 yards, 100% fine wool. And I think I successfully found a sport weight fade for the Cafe Knitting shawl that I really like. So my plan is that after I cast off my Annalise wrap shawl, which you'll notice that I don't have any progress on it. I haven't showed it this week, but I'm so close. But after I cast that off in another project, I think this will be, so maybe the Soldotna, this will be the next start, the Cafe Knitting Shawl by Stephen West. The only other items that I purchased at Maryland Sheep and Wool were 2 patterns. So the first one is this vintage tunic. It's a little baby coat. A vendor there from Shenandoah Fiber Company had all of these little baby outerwear items for sale, and they were like between $70 and $90 per garment. Beautifully made. And I saw this little coat, and I asked her if she had the pattern for sale, and so she was talking to me all about how she actually owns the rights to the pattern now, and the picture on the pattern is of her granddaughter. And I was talking to her about patterns and intellectual property and copyright, because that's the area of law I practice. So that was really fun. So I really love this little coat, and yeah, not sure who I'll be making it for, but I thought it would be a nice addition to my pattern library. And the second pattern I bought was at a booth that was Briar Rose Yarn. I had never heard of them before. I don't think they're local to the tri-state area, at least. But what I thought was really cool was that all of their samples for their yarn were men's garments, which you really don't see often, if at all. I mean, most of the time you see baby garments or a women's size garment in like the extra small, but they had a sample of the C Fret pullover by, I can't remember who it's by, Knit Spot. And I thought it was just so cool. And I bought the pattern. I didn't have enough in the budget to purchase a sweaters quantity. I think I'm gonna give it a little bit of time on the back burner before I decide who I'm going to make it for and what yarn I want to buy to make it. But it's also in a fingering weight, which is kind of terrifying, especially if you're going to make it for a guy. So I think that would require a lot of yardage, which I'm just not ready to make that commitment right now for a long sleeve pullover in fingering weight. So already with the Soldotna, that's DK, which is a thicker weight of yarn, and it's already can be a struggle. I feel like it's taking a really long time. I'm a slow knitter, so yeah, we'll keep this one filed away. But those are my purchases at Maryland Sheep and Wool. Alright, so for those of you who have been around for the podcast, you know that for my last segment, I have Emily's Random Corner, where I talk about anything and everything. So this week I wanted to share with you a new acquisition for me, which I thought was really special, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to share and that some of you might find it interesting. So several weeks ago, my dad found out that his first cousin passed away, and he went to the funeral. His aunt and uncle and some other cousins, including the one who passed away, live in Florida, but the funeral was held in New Jersey. So he went to the funeral, and he came back from the funeral with a really, really special gift. So I didn't know this, but my dad's cousin, Tony, had throughout her life collected music boxes, and she had acquired, I think he said, hundreds of music boxes, like so many music boxes. So at the funeral, at the ceremony or celebration of life or what have you, her parents invited all of the guests to take one of her music boxes home with them. So my dad picked one up for him and my mom, and he also got one for me. So this is the music box that he picked up for me, and he said that they all had vastly different themes. So he said, you know, I couldn't pick up one that was knitting related, but I got one that was really close, and it has this little sewing scene with all of these bears. I guess it's this way. All of these bears on it. So I'll just wind it like a little bit. So it plays a song called Buttons and Bows. We looked it up by referencing the bottom of the music box. It's from King State Corp. And we found out by looking online that it was playing Buttons and Bows. So, yeah. I thought that was really special. It has a lot of moving parts on it, which is really cool. And so I have a little bit of Tony to keep with me and remind me of her and her legacy as a collector of music boxes. And yeah, it was really special. So that's what I wanted to share. And last but not least, I've been watching some shows on Netflix and also listening to some new to me knitting podcasts. So I thought I would just share what I've been watching and what I would recommend. So a couple things on Netflix. The first one is I've been watching The Fall, which is a British procedural. It stars Gillian, I think her name is Gillian Anderson, or Gillian Anderson, I'm not sure, who played Dana Scully in The X-Files. So it stars her as a detective, and she is trying to identify a serial killer, and a fabulous show. It's 5 or 6 episodes over 3 seasons, and I'm in the 3rd season, but I've been really enjoying it, and I think it has propelled me into finding other British procedurals to watch after I finish the last episode of The Fall. So Broadchurch is next on my radar. The other recommendation I have for something to watch on Netflix is a documentary called The Perfect Bid, which is about a guy who started tracking prices of items that were on The Price is Right. And it tells this whole story about how he went to over 30 tapings and was eventually on the show and would help people as an audience member guess the right prices and how he tracked everything. And it was just a really well done documentary. And I watched it with Logan, and we were just like the whole time really captivated. Very well done. It was only like an hour and 15 minutes as well, so it held our attention the entire time. And then for the knitting podcast, I've started watching Once Upon a Corgi, which is not a new podcast by any stretch of the imagination, but I hadn't watched it before. But Gabby is the hand dyer behind Once Upon a Corgi, and she lives in Connecticut, and I've just really enjoyed her episodes. She puts out an episode every week. I like her style, and I like the dogs that come in and out. She calls it a puppy interrupted podcast. So definitely check out Once Upon a Corgi if you've just heard of it and haven't checked it out yet. And then the other podcast I would recommend, which I've started watching from the beginning because there's only 30 some episodes, is Chevy Rell's Stuff. And the host is Chevis, who goes by Chevy, and she is so funny. If you are just in the mood for, like, some of it is laugh out loud funny, but her editing is superb. She is just so honest about her projects and is very genuine, and I really, really love her podcast. So check out Chevy Rell's Stuff, and I'll make sure to link to everything that I've mentioned in my my what to watch and what to listen to. Well, what to watch on Netflix and what to watch on YouTube. That's it for this week. I'm happy that you stuck around for the entire time. If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Drop a comment down below. I'd love to know that you're watching and hear what you thought. But until next time, take care and happy knitting, happy crocheting, and see you soon. Bye. Say bye, Harry. Bye.